Hi, I'm a professional editor and I've always wanted to expand my horizons by talking to other editors and sound designers, music composers, visual effects supervisors, essentially all the magicians who silently and invisibly work behind the scenes. This series is an attempt to make the invisible artists visible. I hope you enjoy the conversations.
So we have Shaunak, Sinu, and Vidur with us. Shaunak and Sinu are associate editors who have now graduated to independent work. Vidur is started off with me as an assistant editor, and he's now an associate editor. So I think, guys, we'd like to kind of have this chat, and I think it's been pending for a long time to kind of have this conversation. And just talk a little about your individual journeys. We'll start, I think, with Sinu. Sinu, you've had a very interesting journey, I think, because so much of your understanding of this profession has been pretty self-learned, I think.
Yeah, pretty so. So basically, मेरा बचपन से मुझे फिल्म्स में काफी इंटरेस्ट था. फिल्म्स देखना, वाचिंग मूवीज एंड ऑल थिएटर्स में जाना काफी मुझे शौक था कि डीवीडी सीडीज कलेक्ट करना, फिल्म रिलीज होने के बाद कैसे उसका क्या कलेक्शन होता था क्या. जबकि मेरे फैमिली बैकग्राउंड में से कोई ऐसा फिल्म से रिलेटेड नहीं था, ना कोई क्रिएटिव फील्ड से था. ऑल आर लाइक दे इंजीनियर एंड कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर में इसमें थे. सो फ्रॉम देयर मेरे को काफी था कि फिल्म बनता कैसे, किस तरह से प्रोजेक्शन में आता है, कैसे स्क्रीन में आता है. और मुझे वो टाइम पे पता नहीं था कि मुझे करियर अगर फिल्म में बनाना है तो मुझे फिल्म में करना क्या है. So I was like clueless. I was not sure कि क्या करना है. फिर जब ग्रेजुएशन की बात है तो बीए में मैंने चूज किया था, तो उसमें मुझे मीडिया के बारे में थोड़ा आइडिया पता था. नॉट एग्जैक्टली द फिल्म मेकिंग, बट मीडिया के बारे में थोड़ा पता चला कि ओके इस तरह से होता है. तो कॉलेज में हम लोग का जो ग्रुप में जब प्रोजेक्ट था तभी हमने एक शॉर्ट फिल्म और एड बनाया. तो ग्रुप वाइज सब डायरेक्शन डिपार्टमेंट, एडिट डिपार्टमेंट सारा हमने डिवाइड किया हुआ. तो वहीं से थोड़ा थोड़ा करके मुझे और इंटरेस्ट आने लगा. जब 3-4 प्रोजेक्ट होने के बाद मुझे पता चला कि एडिट मुझे काफी इंटरेस्टिंग लग रहा है. क्योंकि कैसा था कि एक टाइम था कि जब शूट हुआ, एडिट हुआ, फिल्म अच्छा नहीं लगा कोई वजह से. वो टाइम पे रीशूट करना और वापस वो जो भी आर्टिस्ट है वापस से बोलना काफी डिफिकल्ट था. और हमें खुद को पसंद नहीं आ रहा था कि वो बराबर से नहीं जा रहा था. ग्रुप वाइज हम डिस्कस कर रहे थे कि क्या करना चाहिए. तो एक ही चीज पॉसिबल था जो एडिट था. एडिट में थोड़ा बहुत हम चेंज कर सकते, चलो ये स्टोरी वर्कआउट नहीं कर रहा तो चलो इसको इस तरह से प्रेजेंट कर लेते. जो हमने नहीं सोचा था, तभी हम लोग इतने प्रॉपर नॉलेज नहीं था, लाइक प्रॉपर इमेज, प्रॉपरली ट्रेनिंग भी नहीं मिला था कि हमें कि फिल्म क्या होता है ऐसे. बट जब सामने एडिट टाइमलाइन में आया तब भी व्हाट टू नो कि ओके वी कैन चेंज दिस. वहीं से मेरे को थोड़ा एडिट में काफी इंटरेस्ट आया. सो इसके लिए मैंने एडिट का सोचा कि अपना करियर बना.
बट तुम्हारा फर्स्ट प्रोजेक्ट कौन सा था प्रोफेशनली?
मेरा एक फिल्म था ब्रेड बटर प्रोडक्शन का, जिया करके, जो आई थिंक 4-5 साल बाद रिलीज हुआ था मुदस्सिर अजीज के साथ. तो वो मेरा पहला था. संजय इंगले के साथ मैंने असिस्ट किया हुआ था. तो उन्होंने मुझे चांस दिया था जबकि मुझे कुछ आता नहीं था. और एविड का नाम सुन के ही काफी डर लगता था कि एविड अरे बाप रे, क्योंकि उससे पहले सब बोल रहे थे कि FCP7 सीखना चाहिए तुम्हें इंडस्ट्री में आने के लिए. तो एविड में जब आया तो थोड़ा बहुत मुझे बेसिक नॉलेज तो था, बट लकीली धीरे धीरे एज ए असिस्ट कर करके टाइम निकल के थोड़ा R&D करके सारा चीज मैं अच्छे से सीख के स्टार्ट किया वैसे. फिर उसके बाद फिर मल्टीपल एडिटर्स के साथ मैंने काफी काम किया, 2-4 एडिटर के साथ काम किया. तो मुझे पता चला कि इंस्टीट्यूट में रहने से अच्छा एक्चुअली इधर तुम टाइम अपना पूरा स्पेंड करो, काफी कुछ सीखने मिलेगा. जो इंस्टीट्यूट में तुम्हें थ्योरी प्रैक्टिकल ऑब्वियसली हम लोग देते ही है, बट नॉट एग्जैक्टली जो एडिटर्स के दिमाग का जो पर्सपेक्टिव है, डायरेक्टर किस तरह से अपना सीन प्रेजेंट करना चाह रहा है, सिनेमाटोग्राफर क्यों वो शॉट किस तरह से ले रहे हैं, हमें थोड़ा बेसिक आइडिया इंस्टीट्यूट से शायद से मिल जाएगा, मुझे ऐसा लगता है. बट तुम अगर एडिटर के साथ काम करते हो तो विल गेट टू नो कि किस तरह से है, उनका थिंकिंग कैसा है, किस तरह से हम क्या कर सकते हैं. तो मेरे लिए तो वही था कि एज ए असिस्ट करके मैं काफी कुछ सीखा. और इससे एक और चीज फायदा हुआ कि 3-4 एडिटर के साथ काम करना, सबके अलग अलग टूल्स है, सबके अलग अलग प्रोसेस है, सबके थिंकिंग्स अलग से. तो उस तरह से मेरे को काफी लकी मानता हूँ कि मेरे को इन लोग चारों के साथ अच्छे से उनको काम करने मिला, ताकि हर एक चीज का मुझे प्रॉपर नॉलेज है कि ये एडिटर अगर ये सिचुएशन में ऐसा है तो किस तरह से वो डील करे. तो this was my best experience.
Superb. Shaunak, what about you? Because I think you've also had a very interesting journey because you started off thinking that you want to have a separate, different sort of career, right?
Yeah, so I always liked watching films, but my liking for the craft of filmmaking came much later because I was doing something completely academic wise, like I was doing commerce in before graduation. And while in pre-university, so we used to make these short films and stuff for college projects. And I think during the making of that, my interest for filmmaking um, got much deeper. And I think that's when I decided that I'm enjoying this much more than what I was doing back then. So I decided to take up media studies for graduation. So once I did that, obviously I had to do much more projects related to films like documentaries and short films. And that's when I started enjoying the process of editing because it used to draw me the most than shooting or anything else. I would kind of delegate all that to other people. I would always concentrate on editing. So that's when I decided that I should take this up as a profession and decided to apply to FTI for the 1 year course. So that's how it started.
What was your experience during the course, and do you feel like it prepared you for working professionally?
Yeah, it definitely did. I think it was very helpful because right after doing sort of a mass communication course, which kind of has everything together and there's no specialization as such. So you're kind of lost. But when I started my course at FTII, even though it was a 1 year course, but it kind of gave an overview into the profession. It introduced me to the craft of editing. I think that helped me a lot. And obviously, our professors were really nice, and they also helped us in not just the craft, but also how to work in the industry. I
Hmm.
think it was some sort of a training kind of a thing. So that definitely helped me to further learn on the job.
Right. Vidur, now moving on to you, I know you've done a 3 year course from
Yes,
Whistling Woods.
yes.
Okay. But, and how old were you when you like enrolled for the course?
I was 19.
Wow. So did it feel like
Yes.
it was committing to a lot at that point, like several years? And you did you feel like, okay, now that you want to do editing, did you feel like you should assist, or you were very clear that you wanted to do this 3 year course?
So, from sixth, seventh grade only, I knew that I had to do something creative. And I was always into fine art and photography and all that. And when thought of joining Whistling Woods, I was thinking of becoming a cinematographer. But after my first year of foundation course, I didn't get selected in cinematography. But Prashant Nayak, the HOD of Whistling Woods editing department, he came to me. I was feeling very down, and he was like, whatever you shoot and whatever you edit, your edit makes whatever you're shot much better. So you should, look forward towards editing and explore that aspect of filmmaking as well. So that's how I got into editing. And then I started doing a lot of short films with friends. And what happened in film school was I didn't learn a lot of practical knowledge or technical knowledge. But what I got was there were a lot of like-minded people around me who were striving for the same thing. So which helped me push and explore a lot of things. So I think college helped me a lot in terms of exploring myself, also exploring filmmaking in terms of साउंड में क्या होता है, सिनेमेटोग्राफी में क्या होता है, किस किस में क्या क्या डिसिप्लिन चाहिए, और मतलब बहुत ही अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस था 3 years का. And in
Uh,
second year only I started working side by side, तो अच्छा था experience.
Can you guys just do you remember what your first day in a professional environment was like?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember. मेरा फर्स्ट जब मैं प्रॉपरली जैसे मैं इंटरव्यू देने गया लाइक नॉट प्रोफेशनल वाला जस्ट डिस्कस करना था कि हाँ क्या है क्या नहीं किस तरह से मीटिंग था मुझे कुछ आइडिया नहीं था तो जस्ट संजय इंग्लिश से मेरा बात हुआ था कि ऐसा ऐसा मैं फिल्म करना चाहता हूँ तो मैंने बोला ठीक है तुम आ जाओ एक बार मिलके बात कर ले और टाइम पे एविट का मुझे इतना नॉलेज नहीं था बट बेसिक नॉलेज था कि हाँ ठीक बट एफसी भी मैंने काफी अच्छी तरह से सीख लिया तो थोड़ा कॉन्फिडेंट था कि चलो कुछ तो मैं एटलीस्ट बात करके कैसा तो करूँ तो लकीली जस्ट गिव मी द चांस कि चलो कोई नहीं अभी तेरे को बेसिक आता तो कोई नहीं सॉर्ट एंड सिंक करना है इस तरह से करते हैं बाकी अभी तेरे ऊपर है और वहीं से मेरा चालू कर दिया सर ने मेरे को काम कि भाई तू अभी से चालू कर दे और ही जस्ट वेंट आउट और मैं पूरा रूम के अंदर अकेला और मुझे कुछ पता नहीं किस तरह से करना बट शॉर्ट सिंक का थोड़ा तो आइडिया था मुझे जिस तरह से बोला था अब मैं नर्वस है कि कोई है नहीं फोन करने के लिए कोई है नहीं तो उसमें मुझे पूरा टाइम लगा और पूरा दिन में जस्ट देखा R&D क्या किया है क्या ट्राई किया तब जाके मुझे पता चला कि पता नहीं लकीली जस्ट धीरे धीरे अपने आप मेरे से वो पहले दिन में अच्छा काफी मुझे एक्सपीरियंस मिल गया था फिर 1 वीक तक सर आते ही नहीं थे कि बोला कि शॉर्ट टाइम सिंक तो अच्छे से करते हैं फिर मटेरियल जब मेरे पास आएगा तो मैं आता हूँ सर ठीक है तो वो मेरे पास एक अच्छा टाइम था अच्छे से प्रॉपर्टी समझना टाइमलाइन हैबिट के बारे में और किस तरह से शॉर्ट एंड सीख कर कि किस तरह से करना सर ने जस्ट मेरे को एक दो बार से बताया कि ये प्रोसेस है करके प्रैक्टिकली करके नहीं बताया था कि किस तरह से होता है जस्ट बताया कि वर्बली जस्ट बोला हुआ था कि इस तरह से करते थे तो वो मेरे को अभी भी याद है कि वो पहला दिन और अभी का काफी अच्छी तरह से याद है so it was nice.
Right. Shauna?
It was kind of chaotic because there were a lot of issues with the transcodes. It was transcoded very badly. So, and I was also overwhelmed because I was just thrown into the edit room. And like Sinu said, there was no one to approach, like kind of like unlike in film school where we had our professors to guide. So it was very overwhelming, but like he said, just learn on the job, like what should be the right transcodes and everything and running around. But it was fun now that I look back.
Yeah, I think these things in retrospect, you feel and understand the learning curve a lot
Yeah.
better. I think in that moment, it's quite scary. What about you, Vidur? Do you remember what your first day in an edit room or an edit studio was like?
Yes, yes, very clearly. So, so I didn't start my work in fiction per se. Like my first job as an assistant editor was in a documentary, in an independent documentary, and my work consisted of, just organizing a lot of photographs in different folders. Like in documentary filmmaking, they just divide all those photographs, videos, family clips, and all that. So I had to organize all that. So the organization bit of it started coming through that. And my first fiction work started around 2020. And I thought I knew a lot of stuff, but I didn't. So that was a kind of a big eye opener. And then I started to unlearn a lot of stuff, which I feel when you first start working in the industry, unlearning is the biggest part of the process. It takes up to 2-3 months. You adjust to the new environment as well as new thoughts of other people. Like I learned a lot from my editor, Kamlesh sir, and he taught me a lot of things about Avid, about how how to be organized in general, and what all he requires from me as an assistant. So that really helped me.
So now tell me, you guys have been through this, first days, and you kind of evolved from there. And having worked with all of you, I know and I can see the difference in from when I saw you initially and to what your work is now. You guys have also, in the last few years or so, as you have all become associates, you've also, I think, spoken to assistants when you're hiring assistants for various projects. Um, are you finding a difference? Because I know I find a difference in the attitude and the approach to work. uh, when I was starting off, it was very different. Firstly, we didn't have the associate and assistant, designations separate like that. We only had one assistant. I mean, I was just one assistant on whatever project I did, and so were all my peers. So this assistant associate breakdown actually is very helpful for one. But I also feel like it kind of divides the responsibility. So it also gives scope for people to maybe become a little complacent. There's not as much work as not as and not as much to do as there used to be earlier with just one person managing everything. So how have your experiences been while recruiting assistant editors?
No, for me, I think like you said, it's a bit hard these days to hire assistants because I feel there's a kind of a lack of commitment uh, because our projects, the nature of our projects are such that it goes on like forever. So it's very difficult to. I just feel that it's very difficult for them to commit for so many months. So that's what I'm facing right now. I think even when I've worked with you, we have worked with you, like when we hire collectively assistants as well. So that's the first thing we kind of feel very difficult while talking to them because they're like, how long will it go on and all, and these are answers that we even don't know.
सो असिस्टेंट तो कभी कभी ये एटीट्यूड होता है कि उन लोग को प्रॉपर जॉब का टाइम चाहिए रहता है, लाइक 9 to 5 या नॉट एग्जैक्टली. और सॉफ्टवेयर का चलो तुम्हें इतना नॉलेज नहीं है, बट बेसिक नॉलेज तो है. बट तुम ऐसा प्रेजेंट करते हो कि तुम्हें सब आता है एंड यू वांट दैट मनी कि मुझे इतना चाहिए. वो एटीट्यूड तो तुम्हारा पहला प्रोजेक्ट है, चलो पहला भी नहीं, दूसरे इसमें भी उन लोग को कॉन्फिडेंस इतना ज्यादा हो जाता है कि जबकि पहले इसमें उन लोग ने कुछ प्रॉपरली किया नहीं रहता, थोड़ा बेसिक नॉलेज रहता है. तुम उसका सुधारने की जगह वही प्लस पॉइंट बना के तुम अलग तरह से प्रेजेंट कर. और कई तो ऐसे है कि जस्ट पहला प्रोजेक्ट है और उनको पहले इसमें पैसा भी चाहिए, असिस्टेंट भी चाहिए और इंटर्न नहीं करना है. और पहला असिस्टेंट ऐसे है कि एक प्रोजेक्ट किया असिस्टेंट, अभी नेक्स्ट उनको चाहिए एज ए एसोसिएट. अरे मैंने एक का असिस्टेंट किया ना, मुझे पता है कि फिल्म का कैसे सोर्सिंग से लेके पूरा एंड का प्रोसेस, डायरेक्टर के साथ बैठना, मैं डायरेक्टर के साथ बैठा, साउंड इफेक्ट्स किया, सारा चीज मुझे पता. एक फिल्म में किया, ठीक है मान. सेकंड में उनको एज ए एसोसिएट टैग चाहिए कि हाँ कोई एज ए एसोसिएट तुम्हारे पास कोई प्रोजेक्ट है तो मुझे बता. तो पूछता हूँ कि कितना प्रोजेक्ट किया है, क्या क्या एक्सपीरियंस है. मैंने एक ही प्रोजेक्ट किया अभी तक, बट मेरे को पूरा नॉलेज है. सो दिस ओवर कॉन्फिडेंस की वजह से काफी प्रॉब्लम हो जाता है. तो तुम्हें नहीं पता है, ठीक है कोई बात नहीं. एज ए असिस्टेंट तुम जब किसी को असिस्ट करते हो, तुम्हें पहला चीज काफी कुछ सीखने मिलेगा एडिटर के थ्रू. और तुम तुम्हारा पूरा 100% दोगे, एडिटर भी ऑब्जर्व कर रहा होगा, प्रोडक्शन भी ऑब्जर्व कर रहा होगा. ये चीज तुम्हारे लिए प्लस पॉइंट रहेगा आगे फ्यूचर के लिए. प्रॉपरली जो प्रोडक्शन रहते हैं उन लोग भी देखते हैं कि असिस्टेंट का काम ज्यादा होता है, देखा जाए तो टेक्निकल टर्म्स, नॉट इन क्रिएटिव टर्म्स. प्रोजेक्ट के पहले और प्रोजेक्ट के बाद जैसे ही टाइमलाइन लॉक हो जाता है, उसके बाद भी प्रोडक्शन को असिस्टेंट चाहिए रहता है क्योंकि डिलीवर सब रहता है. वही टाइम पे अगर असिस्टेंट ने प्रॉपर तरीके से काम किया, उसका हार्ड वर्क सब दिखेगा, तो वो उसके लिए फ्यूचर के लिए अच्छा है. वो एटीट्यूड तुम बनाए रखो, सिंसियर एंड डेडिकेशन रखो. और काफी जितना हो सके, ये नहीं कि मुझे सब आता है. आज मुझे भी कुछ सब नहीं आता. लाइक कोई भी अगर सॉफ्टवेयर बोलो या क्रिएटिव बोलो, सब चीज नहीं आता मुझे. लाइक आई एम स्टिल लर्निंग. यू कैन से मुझे सब आता है, मैं कर लूंगा.
I have a very, not much of an experience taking in assistant editors. But what I feel is everyone should come with a collaborative mindset and not taking this as a one man job. कि ये मेरा काम है बस. They should think that they are part of a bigger picture. They should always look for opportunities made. It can be very small, like it can be you are asked to do a lineup of 2-3 shots. Even that can change a lot of things for you if you have that professional mindset and collaborative mindset. So I feel that these days some assistants don't have that. They are just looking कि हमें किसी तरह काम मिल जाए, but they are not in it for the creative and collaborative mindset of it. They are just for the glamour side of it, maybe in some cases कि वाह फिल्म में काम करने को मिल जाएगा and all that. They are not necessarily interested in edit. So that's what I feel. But I think in the past 2 3 years, a lot of like the society is also a bit progressive now, and a lot of people are getting the opportunity to learn this. And I feel a good set of people have started coming in. But yeah, very difficult to find.
I'm going to just take a quick minute to even break down how we allocate work within the edit team. Shaunak, you want to talk a little bit about how you make these choices of what you're going to ask the assistant editor to do, how you are delegating responsibilities?
Yeah, so what I used to practice was to first set up a very thorough workflow, like right from the day the footage comes in, the first day the footage comes in, how to do the sort and syncing. So I would brief the assistant well in advance, and like we have always tried out to give them some test footage and give them a practice of, because like we said about deadlines and everything, so work needs to be a bit more faster. So that's what I initially used to do, like brief them in advance about the way the editor wants the footage to be organized, and then also try to uh, be the only point of contact for the editor, because I think that makes it a very smooth post production process where the editor gives whatever work he or she wants to the associate, and then the associate can delegate different, like for VFX, if there are two assistants, like during exports someone can do the VFX marking while the other can start making exports. So I think that way things happen simultaneously, and also we have a very smooth workflow in place. And especially also I think as an associate it's very important to develop good communication skills, because at the end we are coordinating with so many departments, like so to know what to tell them and kind of make things easy for people to understand, I think that's such a big challenge. And also kind of train the assistants to do the same, because somewhere down the line even they are going to be associates. So I think that's how I used to delegate work. Like it used to be a lot of preparation beforehand than suddenly starting things while the project is on.
Yeah, and also like communication is such a critical part of it. You're right. Because sometimes early on, like you'd get messages from assistants where they're just without punctuation, without anything. It's just one block of messages, and you're trying to decode what is the feedback or what are the points. And then, like we started doing this whole thing of point wise writing down instructions. Even organization, I feel, is one part of that, where putting down, as I said, instructions point wise, when you're even writing emails or messages, putting things down very clearly is, I feel, for me personally, has been very important. Like I think everything I write is in bullet points. But also, Sinu, I wanted to check in with you on, is there a way to make our processes more edit team friendly in a sense? Like, do you think it's achievable to kind of make an assistant's life easier?
Yeah, 100%. बेसिकली असिस्टेंट का जॉब स्टार्ट होने से पहले पोस्ट प्रोडक्शन या पोस्ट सुपरवाइजर पहले से कौन सा सॉफ्टवेयर में काम करें, कौन सा वर्जन में काम करें, कौन सा ओएस कौन सा अपडेट रखना, ये चीज का प्रॉपर्ली तुम नॉलेज रख लो, या एडिटर से तुम बात कर लो कि तुम्हें क्या चाहिए और कौन सा, क्योंकि वर्जन हमें चाहिए अभी 8.1 बट ओएस कुछ और है, तो उस वजह से बग हो जाता है. तो कभी कभी ऐसा हो जाता है वो पोस्ट प्रोडक्शन वाले को उतना आइडिया नहीं रहता। एटलीस्ट तुम पूछ लो एडिटर से या एडिट टीम से पूछ लो कि उन्हें किस तरह से क्या उनका रिक्वायरमेंट है। एक बार अगर वो आ जाए तो काफी इजी हो जाता है कि स्टार्ट प्रोसेस, क्योंकि ये पहला रूट होता है फिल्म का, जो भी एडिट का जो पहला स्टेप है यही सबसे पहला रूट है। तो इधर कुछ बग हो जाता तो असिस्टेंट फिर उसमें टाइम निकाल लेते कि अरे ये नहीं हो रहा वो नहीं हो रहा, देन कोई एडिटर या असिस्टेंट को बोलेगा कि अरे आज कुछ हो नहीं पाया जस्ट बिकॉज कि मैं पूरा टाइम बग में निकाल दिया कि क्यों हो रहा है क्या। तो तुम्हें सबसे पहले अगर ओएस और सॉफ्टवेयर का प्रॉपरली क्लियर है प्रोडक्शन के साइड से, ये है चलो तुम्हारा फर्स्ट स्टेप क्लियर है, तो उसमें कुछ तुम्हें कुछ प्रॉब्लम नहीं रहेगा। तो उसके बाद फिर एज ए असिस्टेंट तुम एक दिन पहले से प्रिपेयर हो कॉल शीट के लिए। लाइक तुम्हें पता है कि कल आज शूट है तो तुम्हारे पास कल मटेरियल आने वाला है, तो तुम्हें सॉर्ट एंड सिंक करना है। तुम एक दिन पहले ही प्रिपेयर हो, एडी से तुम कंटिन्यूटी शीट ले लो, देखो कि क्या क्या शूट करने वाला है। तो तुम्हारे मेंटली तुम प्रिपेयर रहोगे कि अच्छा कल ये सीन शूट होने वाला है, और ये सीन अगर 2 मिनट का तो इतना मटेरियल, थोड़ा बहुत तो आइडिया रहेगा। एक्शन सीन है तो हाँ काफी मटेरियल रहेगा, मल्टीपल कैमरा रहेगा, तो तुम्हें थोड़े से पहले से अगर प्रिपेयर होगा तो काफी तुम्हारी कोई इजी हो जाएगा कि शॉर्ट सिंक करने में। और वही टाइम पे अगर कुछ कुछ भी डाउट है तो तुरंत तुम कंटिन्यूटी सुपरवाइजर या एडी तुरंत के तुरंत सॉर्ट करने का ट्राई करो, ये नहीं कि वो बाद में देख लो। तो उस वजह से कुछ कुछ शॉर्ट उधर इधर चले जाते हैं, फिर वो एसोसिएट भी कंफ्यूज हो जाते हैं, एडिटर भी कंफ्यूज हो जाते हैं, तो वो टाइम में पूरा प्रॉब्लम हो जाती है। तो एक दिन पहले प्रिपेयर रहना काफी अच्छा रहेगा असिस्टेंट के लिए कि तुम्हारे पास क्या है। अगर तुम्हारे कॉल शीट नहीं आ रहा है तो कॉल एडी, थोड़ा ट्राई करो के पीछे पड़े रहो कि हाँ भाई चाहिए ऐसा।
हाँ, like communication, and I think both of you touched upon very critical points, communication and organization and prep. कि एक certain amount of prep बहुत जरूरी है. Vidur, there's something also that we should probably talk about is how to even score that first job, probably. I think a lot of people who are watching are kind of keen to know how to even become assistant editors, what is the starting point, and then how to navigate your way through in terms of networking and meeting people. So what do you think, now that you've been an assistant, you are an associate, what do you think is the appropriate route, and also what is the correct way to approach an editor, or any person who you want to work with? Because we get like all these DMs on social media, and I get a lot of CVs where they're praising themselves only and saying, I'm very hardworking, I'm very diligent, I'm very whatever. And then you work with them and they're none of the above. So, what do you think? Like, how should one approach? And actually, there's a question for both Sinu and Shaunak as well. How do you think, what's the starting point for someone looking to become an assistant editor?
I think for me, it was a lot of cold calls when I started out. Like, I wanted to, get into the field.
But did you call, like literally call people?
No. Cold calls can be anything.
Messaging.
Like, I one day I was sitting and I thought like I'll message an email around 20 to 30 editors. Let's see what kind of response do I get. So the response I got was, out of those 30, at least 10 remember that I had messaged them, I had reached out. So that is quite helpful. That has been quite helpful for me. It is kind of a building block for your network. You just start to get seen, and as you start to assist, you also can build upon the background and the kind of projects you have done already, so that you are able to network with more people. But I feel cold calls and just reaching out there and asking people for work has been quite helpful for me. Like, even in your case, I messaged you in February 2021, and while I was doing another project and I was waiting for another gig to show up, and sometime around May, I got a message from you that, are you still free, and are you interested in assisting? So that has been a huge boost for me. And like, social media as well as Film Editors United as a database helped me a lot in creating my network what it is right now. And I also wanted to know how you guys approach getting work. Like that's the thing I'm most keen about right now.
You guys, as in?
All of us, like,
Anush?
All of us.
Oh, all acha like that.
yeah, yeah.
We don't.
मेरा तो मैंने पहले ही बता दिया.
We are
मुझे
just
सिर्फ
like
काम
please.
चाहिए. काम दे दो बस. पैसे नहीं, काम दे
Oi.
दो.
I think that whole networking thing is also it's a slippery slope, na? Because early on, when I was just trying to break into being into independent editing, I remember I really liked this director and I mean his work, and I knew that he was starting off on some project, and I found his number, got someone to message him that, so Antara will be calling you or wants to meet you, and I went and met the person, but it became like I got the strangest vibe because they kept asking, what have you done before this, what have you done independently? I said, but I haven't. Like, I was very frank about that, but the attitude becomes like they're doing you a favor if you approach someone for work at that stage. Maybe I don't know, maybe it'd be different now that I have a few years of work, and I've done some films and web series. Maybe it's different, I don't know, but it kind of put me off the idea of asking someone for work, because I don't feel like a lot of us here have that understanding of how to respect people who are honest enough to ask someone for work, or independent work particularly. You always sort of end up being on the uh, like someone who will always be uh, feeling, that person whoever you're approaching will always be feeling that they will be there at my beck and call. So that vibe is always there. So yeah, I kind of stopped approaching people for independent work. As an assistant, I've sent out several. That time, though, we had nothing. I don't think we were like so active on social media. I definitely wasn't on Instagram when I was assisting. I think Facebook had probably just come
Yeah.
in. So I had messaged a few people. And then, boy, then that time messages were also so expensive. So even messaging someone was like spending 2-3 rupees sending out that message. So you have to be really careful who you're sending that message to or who you're calling. But yeah, what was your experience, Shaunak, on reaching out to people, or even now, like what is your MO?
एज ए असिस्टेंट मैंने एक दो बार अप्रोच किया था स्टार्टिंग में, ताकि कि मुझे काम चाहिए, मुझे पैसा मत दो, मुझे सिर्फ काम सीखना है. तो वो एक दो बार ही मैंने सिर्फ एज ए असिस्टेंट अप्रोच किया था. फिर उसी वजह से फिर मेरे को काम धीरे धीरे मिलते गए, वैसे वैसे कंटिन्यू. अभी जब इंडिपेंडेंट का बात है, एज यू से कि पूछसे कि तुमने क्या किया पहले, मैं बोलता हूँ कि चलो मेरा IMD दिख रहा है. अरे पर तुमने तो एज ए असिस्टेंट काम किया, एज ए असिस्टेंट काम किया. इंडिपेंडेंट क्या किया? इंडिपेंडेंट में बोलते मैंने डॉक्यूमेंट किया है. अरे नहीं, फिल्म क्या किया है? तो फिल्म नहीं किया, दिस इज माय फर्स्ट फिल्म. अच्छा, तो फिर उनका वो जो फेवर है कि नहीं भाई तुम इतना अगर लेते तुम, चलो मैं तुम्हें इतना पैसा दे दूँ, कर लो, क्वेश्चन. उतना एसोसिएट से भी कम मिलता है, क्योंकि जस्ट बिकॉज कि हम तुम्हें ब्रेक दे, ये उनका एक रहता है. तो ये मेरे को काफी, मैं अभी भी फेस कर रहा हूँ approaching case.
Yeah, because someone had told me, who's an newly sort of independent editor, ki they were made to sign, as you said, a contract for very little money for a whole film.
Yeah.
Like less than probably your sum total of what an assistant editor makes on an entire project, less than that. And also they were not given a contract. So a lot of these little things happen where it makes the editor completely powerless. So it's a kind of a risky situation. Shaunak, you were saying something?
Initially, I think what helped me was the strong alumni network that we have at FTI, because I think our professors also helped us a bit in, they wanted to know, like, whom do you want to assist? I remember a professor had asked us for a list that you have someone in mind you would like to assist, then maybe I can approach them if there's any work for you. So I think that helped me quite a bit. But I was also like, I wasn't like behind everyone 24/7 like it usually happens now.
Yeah.
De do, kam de do. I think once you tell someone, once you approach someone that you're looking for work, they definitely keep it in mind. You don't need to
Exactly.
constantly remind them, and they'll also approach you
Exactly.
when they have work, right?
Yeah, precisely. Now, this is so difficult to make people understand that, because nowadays a lot of people just call directly, like at 9 in the morning. I'll get a phone call. When I'm having my coffee in peace, I'll get a phone call. I'm looking to assist. I'm like, if you call me at 9 in the morning, I'm definitely not calling you back. And without any message and all, I think it's kind
Yeah.
of rude, personally, I'd feel.
The thing was that people I approached, they also knew that I'm coming kind of trained in the job, so I
Yeah.
wouldn't have much problem starting off, like not be clueless at least in the edit room. So while assisting, I kind of did that, but I'm completely clueless now while trying to
Yeah.
do independent work. And I think uh, I don't think we are very good at networking at all. Editors are. I think that's a personality trait as well, since most of us are introverts. So I think
That's true.
it's a work in progress. I think it's just
Right.
like how you work. Someone likes your work, and they just approach you. I think "Baki Bhagwan Bharose" kind of a situation.
Yeah, I think generally, and what we also keep discussing is that the attitude, I think, has to be correct. The technical stuff, I think we all picked up. And
Yeah.
as Sinu said, we're still learning. Like when I'm working with you guys half the time, because I was an FCP7 editor. Then when I started work with Sinu, I learned so much of Avid from him. And then at some point, Premiere Pro became so big, and a lot of projects started happening on Premiere Pro. And then Shaunak was literally, till now, if I have a Premiere Pro problem, I'll ask Shaunak. If I have an Avid problem, I'll ask Sinu. So it is definitely an ongoing, as it should be. It's an ongoing learning for all of us. So that attitude of learning, definitely very crucial. Also, is there like some particular part of the process that is particularly challenging as an assistant when you're starting off? Like, is the technical part more challenging, or the creative part, like understanding how to do lineups?
So मेरा एक प्रोजेक्ट था जिसमें एज यू से कि टेक्निकल और क्रिएटिव कैसा वो टाइम पे मुझे उतना आइडिया नहीं था एज ए एसोसिएट का कि किस तरह से क्या रहता, क्योंकि मैं कोई इंस्टीट्यूट से था नहीं। तो मेरे को जो क्रिएटिव वाला फील्ड है काफी टाइम लगा मुझे वो चीज समझने को, उनका क्राफ्ट, एक्टर्स के इमोशनल किस तरह से कनेक्ट होना, सीन्स कैसे एडिट होना, वो सब मेरे को सिर्फ रफली पता था कि ओके कट्स कैसे करना है। तो सीन्स के पीछे क्या क्रिएटिव प्रोसेस है, क्या थिंकिंग है, एडिटर क्या कौन से सोच से वो काट रहा है, और जो एक्टर का जो परफॉर्मेंस है, काफी ये जो ग्रामर था मुझे काफी टाइम लगा था। तो वो टाइम पे जब एज ए असिस्टेंट में काम कर रहा था तो काफी बर्डन था मेरे इसमें, शॉर्ट सिंग, एक्सपोर्ट, और उसके बीच में मुझे अगर लाइनअप मिला तो मैं खुश हो गया था कि ओके चलो लाइनअप मिल गया, कुछ तो अभी नया मिल रहा है करने को। क्योंकि वो जो काम था एक टाइम में हो जाता है कि चलो अभी ये सीख लिया, अभी एक स्टेप तो आगे जाने को, तो मुझे सैलरी मत दो, ये इसमें मुझे एटलीस्ट काम दे दो, मैं एटलीस्ट देखना चाहता हूँ कि क्या है कैसा है। तो रफ लाइनअप में जब पहली बार किया तो जस्ट मैंने कट किया, ओके ये क्लोज नॉर्मल शॉट के हिसाब से कट, बट वो शॉट का एडिट को कुछ मीनिंग निकल के नहीं आता था। तो वो मेरे को काफी स्ट्रेस लगने लग गया था कि क्यों ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है। तो उस स्ट्रेस चक्कर में मेरा टेक्निकल भी प्रॉपरली नहीं होता था और ना ये होता था। तो ये मेरे लिए काफी चैलेंजिंग जैसा था कि अभी दोनों करूँ क्या करूँ। फिर मेरे को धीरे धीरे समझ आया कि किस तरह से क्या है करके। फिर एडिटर के साथ जब मैं बैठता था तो फिर वो मुझे समझाते थे कि किस तरह से सीन्स को देखा जाता है, किस तरह से उसको प्रेजेंट कर सकते हो, और किस अलग अलग वर्जन से तुम एडिट कर सकते हो। सबसे पहला मेन होता है तुम्हारा स्क्रिप्ट, स्क्रिप्ट को तुम्हें पहला समझना। तो वो टाइम में मुझे कुछ उतना आइडिया था नहीं, स्क्रिप्ट हम रीड करते, अच्छा ओके स्टोरी ऐसा है। तो अभी डेली आया हमारे पास, तो शूट के हिसाब से हमने चलो लाइनअप किया, बट वो एक्चुअल फील नहीं रहता जो एडिटर के दिमाग पे पहले से ही पता रहता है कि वो सीन एडिट कैसे होगा। तो वो मेरे को काफी टाइम लगा सीखने को एज ए असिस्टेंट और एसोसिएट के बीच में जब ये चल रहा था तभी। वो थोड़ा चैलेंजिंग भी था। फिर धीरे धीरे मैं एक एक स्टेप जब हेड आते गया तब मुझे धीरे धीरे समझ आया सब चीज़।
Right. Vidur?
I think one of the challenges I faced is to stand apart and, you know, make my work seen a lot of times. Like during while I was starting out, it was very difficult for me to, you know, कि हाँ इतना काम कर लिया अब उसके आगे बढ़ने के लिए लाइक सिनो सेड कि जो आगे का नेक्स्ट स्टेप होता है उसमें बहुत ज्यादा टाइम लग रहा था एंड इट द बिगेस्ट चैलेंज फॉर मी वाज टू यू नो make my work visible. But I think once that started happening, things started to become much easier for me. And the whole thing just opened up a lot bigger than what I expected it to be. But yeah, I think the biggest challenge would be that.
How about you, Shaunak?
For me, initially, it were the exports. It was purely technical because mainly because of the chasing deadlines. Because, like you said earlier, it used to be just one of us handling all the exports. And, with the production and the post production supervisors always behind you telling, ye chahiye, ye chahiye. So it was kind of tough to navigate through that. But I think with experience, I also learned how to tell them that waqt lagega. Things will not happen instantly.
That
So
is so important,
yeah.
actually. Yeah.
So I think I learned it quite bit late, but now I think I'm very good with that. Ki jitna time lagega. You can't just speed things up as per your convenience. So that was my, I think, quite a bit of a challenge initially.
Yeah, this is a very important point, actually. Because just explaining, I think like people just set schedules, and a lot of times they don't ask us also that is this convenient or can it happen? Forget convenient, can it happen in this span of time? Like I remember when I was assisting, we used to have to burn the MOVs onto DVDs for previews. उस टाइम ये हार्ड डिस्क यहाँ जाके कनेक्ट करना एंड ऑल डिडंट हैपन so every DVD to burn, and like the encoding time was, I think, probably 1.5 hours. रियल टाइम में, हाँ, 3 घंटे का फिल्म ऐसा जाएगा. बट पीपल वुड कम लाइक just randomly and say 2 घंटे में screening है and you have to make this export. So it's just, and invariably export also goes wrong, na? We know that last वो 98% पे जाके crash होगा ही. So I think that is definitely one of like time management, or rather explaining to people how time management works and machine time, how much time will machine take, because it's not time that we are taking per se. Definitely one of the bigger challenges. I also felt while I was assisting, like I had really started enjoying the work, but I did feel that there was very little respect for the job of an assistant. I'm speaking from an assistant point of view because, as I said, we didn't have the demarcation earlier. There was very little respect for an assistant who actually is the spine of the whole post production process. Because if there's no assistant and no exports are coming out of the edit, and if the exports are incorrect, then the entire process is going to just stop. Have you guys felt this at any point of time that people are not understanding, or there is not enough respect for the kind of work that you are doing? We can start with Shonak.
I definitely felt initially because, like you said, there was a lack of understanding on their part, like what we really do. Because we were just in the studio in the edit room and they didn't know that what we were doing. So I felt somewhere down the line they would take things lightly, especially when it came to payments, very lightly.
Oh, yes.
So
Yeah.
I think so I felt it initially, but now thanks to, I think, even because editors are also speaking for the assistants and associates, I think the production has started taking the whole edit team a bit more seriously than they were earlier, I guess.
Good to know. Sinu?
जैसे शौनक ने बोला था एकदम प्रॉपरली 100% सही। काफी मैंने भी सेम एक्सपीरियंस किया। लाइक कोऑर्डिनेशन का प्रॉब्लम काफी होता है प्रोडक्शन के साइड से सबसे पहले, ज्यादा प्रोजेक्ट में, नॉट सब में,
हाँ।
कि पोस्ट सुपरवाइजर को प्रॉपरली नहीं पता कि क्या किस तरह से चाहिए, क्या है, क्या आउटपुट चाहिए, या जो भी है, मतलब क्रिएटिव फील्ड में है, लाइक टेक्निकल टाइप में एमओवी से लेके कौन सा वर्जन डालना चाहिए। तो उन लोग कभी कभी ऐसा होता है कि असिस्टेंट पे डाल देते क्या नहीं, अभी वो जो असिस्टेंट ने ऐसा दे दिया हमें मूवी, या उसने दूसरा वर्जन दे दिया, उससे पता रहना चाहिए था। बट जब पोस्ट सुपरवाइजर या प्रोडक्शन वाले ही तुम क्लियर नहीं है कि तुम्हें चाहिए क्या है असिस्टेंट से, जस्ट बिकॉज कि डायरेक्टर ने तुम्हें बोला या प्रोड्यूसर ने तुम्हें एक चीज बोला, जस्ट वही सेम चीज तुम सुन के सीधा असिस्टेंट पे डाल दो। पहले उस चीज समझो कि पॉसिबल है या नहीं है। एज ए प्रोडक्शन या पोस्ट सुपरवाइजर पहले समझो ना कि डायरेक्टर अगर तुम्हें कुछ बोल रहा है कि ये मुझे ये टाइम तक चाहिए या कल तक चाहिए, इस तरह से चाहिए, एटलीस्ट तुम वो चीज समझो। कि तुम पहले ही बिना सोचे सीधा असिस्टेंट को बोलते हैं कि ये मुझे ये चाहिए, ये वर्जन चाहिए, वो भी आधा कंफ्यूज रहता है कि पता नहीं, जस्ट उसने जो डायरेक्टर ने जो बोला जस्ट सीधा कॉपी पेस्ट कर दिया, और असिस्टेंट भी वही करे, और कुछ जाके एंड ऑफ द डे कुछ हुआ तो अरे वो तो असिस्टेंट नहीं किया, मैं तो बोला हुआ था। तो ये काफी प्रॉब्लम मैंने देखा हुआ है। तो अभी लकीली एडिटर्स काफी सपोर्ट ले रहे हैं असिस्टेंट का, क्योंकि नहीं, क्योंकि अभी स्टार्ट टू एंड तक असिस्टेंट रहता है, लाइक फ्रॉम शॉर्ट एंड सिंग से लेके पूरा फाइनल डिलीवर तक असिस्टेंट पूरा प्रोजेक्ट में रहता है, और काफी टाइम तक रहता है। और वही एडिटर अभी काफी सपोर्ट भी करे असिस्टेंट को थोड़ा बहुत, ये नहीं कि तुम असिस्टेंट है तो पूरा उसको दबा ही दो।
हाँ।
तो हाँ
हाँ, क्योंकि आई थिंक आवर्स ऑल्सो हैव टू बी मोर रेगुलेटेड ना, क्योंकि ऐसा नहीं, आई थिंक ये भी एक टेंडेंसी होता है कि जब एडिट में काम कर रहे हैं तो दे जस्ट अज्यूम, लाइक विदुर, आई थिंक वी वर स्पीकिंग अबाउट दिस सम टाइम बैक, पीपल अज्यूम दैट 24 hours literally, like I think you've been told that, right Vidur, कि 24 hours, आप लोग तो 24 hours रहोगे ना. So this perception, I really want to know, where does this come from, कि someone or the other will constantly be there and that you will not have a life outside of the edit. Vidur, you want to talk a bit about this?
So I don't exactly know where this is coming from, but I really believe that exactly what Shaunak said, that people don't know what exactly a job of an assistant is other than the editor or the post supervisor or the post production team. So they just think कि हाँ बैठे बैठे कंप्यूटर के सामने पूरी रात लगे रहेंगे और तो कुछ है ही नहीं इनका काम. So that's what I think. They don't understand what we actually are doing behind the scenes. So that's about it. Like, I feel that is a big misconception, that it is very easy to sit in front of a system and work 24/7 every time.
Yeah. No, that's true. I think, as you said, the perception of what we do, even whether it's an editor or an associate or an assistant, I think सबके दिमाग में बहुत sketchy ideas हैं कि हम करते क्या है, पूरा edit team करती क्या है, बस शॉर्ट्स जोड़ना. Short sync, we actually, they think is super easy, but we know that it's become a lot more complicated because I think we've done projects where there've been like 4 cameras, 5 cameras on particular days, like whether they're shooting songs or action sequences. And then a lot of times they will not do a jam sync, and we've had those issues as well. So I think that is definitely something that is like there's a lack of understanding for sure in these things. What about, tell me, in the transition when you went from an assistant to associates, or now that Sinu, Shaunak, you're gravitating towards independently editing, what are the changes you saw in the way you operate when you're transitioning between these big phases?
I think now I've started to take things very personally now. Like, I feel a part of the project more than what I was while I was assisting. And it has also helped me, become more responsible and more organized, and also understand what exactly the editor requires from my end. So that has been a bit of a learning when I transitioned towards being an associate. I also learned that it is a much bigger responsibility, and you're kind of a frontman for the editor. And it is like you are handling both the teams, and you are kind of a bridge between the assistant and the editor, as well as sometimes, in some cases, very few cases, you are a bridge between the production and the editor. So these are the few things I have learned while I've started to associate.
पहले मैं ऐसे एसोसिएट सीन वाइज एडिट करता था, लाइक ये सीन का रिदम पेस, एक्टर का परफॉर्मेंस, सारा चीज सीन वाइज रहता है कि कितना अच्छा सीन हो सकता है, क्योंकि एडिटर भी वही एक्सपेक्ट करता है एसोसिएट से कि तुम एकदम बेस्ट सीन दो, ताकि एडिटर अपने हिसाब से उसको और अच्छे से या एक अलग पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से भी देख सके, ताकि एडिटर के पास वो मौका मिलेगा कि पूरा फिल्म उनके दिमाग में पूरा एडिट कर सके। और एसोसिएट कैसे कि सीन वाइज एडिट कर दिया जाता है, तो फिल्म दिमाग क्या रहे। तो जब एडिटर में शिफ्ट होने के बाद काफी चीज पता चलता है कि नहीं, सीन एडिट तो सिर्फ जस्ट नॉर्मल थिंग है, लाइक उससे पहले होता है फिल्म एडिट। फिल्म एडिट में अपना स्ट्रक्चर, रिस्ट्रक्चर, कैसे स्टोरी जा रही है, ये नहीं कि जैसा स्क्रिप्ट है वैसे ही हमें सोचना है। सीन एडिट हो गया, पूरा फिल्म बना, तो देखना है कि पेसिंग कहाँ जा रहा है, एक्टर का परफॉर्मेंस के हिसाब से। परफॉर्मेंस चलो सबका सही है, बट कभी कभी होता है कि वो सीन्स वर्कआउट नहीं करे कोई वजह से। कई अच्छे एडिटर भी अच्छे तरह से सीन एडिट भी कर लेंगे, बट तो भी ओवरऑल फिल्म में वो सूट नहीं होगा था, जस्ट बिकॉज कि वो पूरे फिल्म के थीम का नहीं, स्टोरी के हिसाब से उतना कन्विंसिंग नहीं लगता। लाइक वो मुझे काफी इंटरेस्टिंग लगा कि सीन एडिट से जब हम प्रॉपरली फिल्म को प्रॉपरली दिमाग में रख के अच्छी तरह से एडिट करें, रिस्ट्रक्चर जो है, स्टोरी किस तरह से हम रिस्ट्रक्चर कर सकते हैं हमारे, तो ये मेरे को काफी ट्रांसिशन में तो ये लग रहा है। और स्क्रिप्ट में जैसा मैं पहले ही कहा था कि स्क्रिप्ट एक हम नॉर्मली हम रीड करते हैं, जब हम 3-4 बार स्क्रिप्ट सेम चीज हम बार बार रिपीट करते हैं, तो धीरे धीरे हमें एक एक चीज पता चलता है, एक्टर का क्या रहेगा, डायरेक्टर क्या, राइटर क्या बोलना चाह रहा है, किस तरह से उस सीन्स का क्या है। क्योंकि एज ए एसोसिएट हम एक ही बार रीड करते हैं, मैक्स 2 बार। रिविजन की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ मैं, नॉर्मली स्क्रिप्ट अगर आता है तुम्हारा, तो एज ए एसोसिएट भी शायद 1 या 2 बार रीड कर। पर एज ए एडिटर तुम जब रीड करोगे तो काफी बार तुम रीड करोगे, तुम प्रॉपरली उसको एनालाइज करोगे कि क्या वर्क कर रहा है क्या नहीं। स्क्रिप्ट में तुम लोगों को पता चल जाएगा। तो ये काफी मुझे अच्छा लगा ये ट्रांसलेशन, और ये मैं काफी एक्सपीरियंस कर रहा हूँ चेंज।
Right. Shaunak, what about you?
For me, the transition has been very personal because I think I saw an immense growth in confidence throughout this from transition from an assistant to associate and then working independently. Because like as soon as you turn from an assistant to an associate, there is still a kind of like when you're given scenes to cut or lineups to make, so there's still a kind of कि मैं कर पाऊंगा कि नहीं, the initial first 2 or 3 months of working as an associate. But then like I'm telling about the personal experience, like when I worked with you, you have given us an opportunity to sit with the director, cut scenes with them, make changes with them, sit with the choreographer, attend mixing sessions, attend color grading sessions. So I think all of this helped me a lot while transitioning to working independently. And especially, like I said, the confidence of just sitting with a director and knowing what to do, that I can at least guarantee the director that I am working for the story, and I'll ensure that I will cut the scene properly. So I think that confidence is something that I have seen as a personal growth throughout this transition.
That's very true. I think being able to sit with directors, sometimes with actors also, I think it really gives you a boost in terms of how you approach a project. But tell me, do you feel, and this is actually true for most of the edit department, including the editor herself or himself, and we've spoken about this in some of the episodes of this podcast. What are your thoughts on the budgets that are allocated to the edit department? Do you feel the kind of input that you're giving in terms of work and the hours that you're putting in, are you getting paid appropriately? Because I don't think any of, at least with the editors, we always, and I think a lot of us have told you guys also, that it's not a proportionate amount because we put in way too much work, and way too many hours, and get like pretty much nothing out of it compared to say what camera assistants or camera people get. And anyone on shoot or even costume, hair and makeup, they make a lot more money for the kind of time that they put in. So have you ever felt this kind of disparity? Have you felt this in your profession as well?
यस टोटली एज यू सेड कि जैसा शूट में जैसे कॉस्ट्यूम डिजाइन से लेके डीआईटी सारे लोग को पर डे शायद इतने ज्यादा मिलता है जबकि उन लोग को प्रॉपरली आवर्स रहता है लाइक 12 आवर्स का शूट रहता है बट 12 आवर्स में से आई थिंक 8 आवर्स उनका काम रहता होगा बाकी 2 आवर्स सेटअप में जाता होगा तो एज ए असिस्टेंट जितना एज ए असिस्टेंट और एडिट टीम जितना काम करते जितना अपना टाइम देते पूरा अपना जान निकाल के प्रॉपर्ली उन लोग दे देते पूरा अपना लाइफ साइड में रख के असिस्टेंट भी वही होते हैं आजकल जो भी डेडिकेटेड असिस्टेंट रहते हैं प्रॉपर्ली अपना एडिट में पूरा टाइम लोग निकालते रहते हैं और यही सेम चीज उन लोग को उतना मिलता नहीं है जितना मंथली उतना मिलना चाहिए पर ठीक है चलो तुम जितना तुम्हारा काम के हिसाब से तुम्हें मंथली इतना मिलता है ठीक है एग्री बट तुम मुझसे इतना सारा काम भी करा रहे हो वर्किंग आवर्स का कुछ लेना देना नहीं चलो ये भी ठीक है तुम्हारा बजट ये है तो समझ सकते हो बट वही बजट वाला फिल्म में तुम अगर जाओ शूट में डीआईटी में या जिसका भी पर डे है या उनका इतना ज्यादा रहता है जितना मंथली हम कमाते हुए क्या है एज ए असिस्टेंट वो एटलीस्ट 4-5 दिन में वो यूं करके लेके चलेगा तो ये काफी मैंने हर फिल्म में देखा है कॉस्ट्यूम के भी जो असिस्टेंट होते हैं और जो भी असिस्टेंट होते हैं प्रोडक्शन शूट वाले उसमें तो उन लोग का बजट जो रहता है वो काफी अलग रहता है अपने एडिट टीम को कंपेयर किया
हाँ Shaunak, Vidur, either one of you?
Yeah, I think I agree with what Sinu said. And just to add to what he said, I think it's not just about the money, but it's also about valuing our time, which I think is something that doesn't happen at all. Because when we come for a project, like we start a project, it starts off as an assistant job. But by the end, I think we end up doing much more than it's usually required because we are at the end of the project we are just doing things which are not even we are not even supposed to do sometimes so like especially coordinating between departments instead of the post production supervisor in some cases which kind of also hampers our work while which we could have given on the project so that and I also feel because of the lack of budgets even editors are not able to kind of employ a bigger edit team because I think when that happens a lot of work will be designated to different people and I think that's when everyone will have a good work life balance as well so I think that's a bit of a problem.
That's true. Vidur?
I also feel that there's a huge disparity between the payments and the payment structure in general. Like, but now in the past 2 years, I think it has been a lot better than it was when I started out, especially while assisting. But
you think like because it's OTT, like the OTT era has brought in that difference? Well, 100%. I think that's been Sorry, you were saying Vidur?
Yeah, like as far as I know, I feel that OTT has definitely, boosted a lot of in terms of increase in money and in terms of like projects also, a lot of projects have come up. So there are a lot of opportunities also. And I feel a lot of bigger production houses also understand what the job is and they are paying, like they are compensating well enough for that as well. But in smaller production houses and new editors as well who are like just entering the field, I feel they don't respect the pay that much. I feel like I've experienced it myself, but that's what I have in mind.
But what do you mean by they don't respect the like they don't charge enough? You feel? or they're not
Yeah,
pushing the.
that as well, and they don't push enough for the assistants as well. I feel when
Right.
they are just starting out. I know, like, everyone's career is in the line when you are like getting into a new designation and all, but I feel that sense of professionalism and that standardization is very much required. Like, there should be a set standard, not like कि मैं just अभी चालू कर रहा हूँ so I can't pay you enough. So that
Hmm.
is what I think shouldn't be there.
Right. That's very true. But have you guys, any of you, have you thought of, say, for instance, joining the union, the editors' union? Did you ever consider that, or is there something that held you back from pursuing them?
सी ये मैंने यूनियन का जो आपने जो बोला काफी पहले से मैंने काफी देखा था कि नहीं देखना है, तब पता चला कि इधर तो कुछ है नहीं, सिर्फ नाम का यूनिटी लाइक यूनियन वो तो बाकी का अगर तुम आर्ट डिपार्टमेंट से लेके प्रॉपर एक्ट्रेस लोग का भी सारे लोग का जो यूनियन रहता है वो इतना स्ट्रांग है, बट एडिटर को कुछ इतना यूनियन था नहीं, तुम फुकट का इतना पैसा देते रहते हो साल का, कुछ उसका मतलब नहीं था. फिर लकीली यू जस्ट इन्वेंटेड फ्रॉम योर दैट फेसबुक में विच इज हेल्पिंग अ लॉट. Like at least we are connecting now. I can feel exactly proper अपना यूनियन जैसे नॉर्मली वो एग्जैक्टली इसका नाम मेरे को याद नहीं है, बट जो बाहर का जो यूनियन है वो छोड़ के अगर अपना अगर यूनियन अभी बन रहा है तो यही मैं चाहता हूँ कि ये और स्ट्रांग बने और लोग आए और अच्छे से कनेक्ट हो, क्योंकि ये ग्रुप अभी जो बना है काफी सब लोग के लिए काफी हेल्पफुल रहा है जो यू मेड इट. सो रियली फॉर दैट. और उससे पहला जो भी यूनियन है था मैं काफी पहले टाइम से देखता था. कोई एडिटर ऐसा नहीं है जिसका पैसा डूबा हो, कहीं ना किधर तो पैसा अटका है. तो कई यूनियन ने शायद उतना हेल्प नहीं किया हो, किस किस को शायद किया रहेगा. और कई कई एडिटर्स कभी ये भी सोचते हैं कि पर्सनल लेवल पे भी आ जाते हैं, तो वो चक्कर में शायद यूनिटी बनता तो भी फिर वो नहीं बन पाता, क्योंकि डायरेक्टर के साथ रिलेशन रहता है. एक यूनियन ने बोला कि एक ग्रुप में कि चलो हमें ये बजट में नहीं करना चाहिए या उसमें नहीं, जो भी डिमांड है, बट पर्सनल लेवल पे जब कोई डायरेक्टर अपना रहता है हमें थोड़ा रिलेशन भी मेंटेन करने के चक्कर में हम लोग शायद से कर लेते या बजट को कॉम्प्रोमाइज करके हम लोग कर लेते. तो इस वजह से काफी थोड़ा यूनिटी में काफी प्रॉब्लम था पहले. अभी थोड़ा अच्छा धीरे धीरे बनते जा रहे हैं एज यू मेड
True.
ग्रुप एंड ऑल. या
That's true, and I feel ये चीज बहुत important actually, very relevant point that you mentioned, सिनू, कि अगर एक डायरेक्टर के साथ तुम्हारे अच्छे रिलेशन है, then you want to maintain that and you do the project for lesser, या producer या production के साथ ऐसा है. So definitely that becomes an obstacle when you want to standardize pay. And I think Shauna, speaking of your experience, have you been in a situation where, since we're speaking of pay and we're speaking of union, where you've not received payments and you had to kind of resort to going to someone or trying to figure, how to extract payments on your own?
Yeah, there have been few cases like that initially. Thankfully, not now, but initially there have been cases. But I think back then, since we were assistants, and like you earlier said, there was not much kind of respect given to assistants. So I think they also took it lightly, and we really didn't have anyone to go to, because even the editors, they could only tell till a point of time. After that, the producers would just not budge. So I think it was a bit difficult, and I don't think I kind of resolved any of those issues. There's still money pending, and I think it becomes very taxing, like when you're actively working, to kind of go on follow up with different people for your payments. So after a point of time, you're like, chhod do abhi kya hai. So, but I have tried to join the union, but like Sinu said, the whole lack of standardization, everything kinds of keeps me back from joining. So hopefully if it improves, maybe I'll try to join the union as well.
True that. Vidur, have you felt that as we spoke about the amount of time you're putting into your work, are you able to find time for yourself? And I think Shaunak also mentioned having a work-life balance. Are you being able to find that? Was it more difficult for you earlier to find that work-life balance? And has it improved or is it still the same?
It is more or less the same only because of the like unrealistic deadlines we kind of have, we all face. So it's because of that. But to be honest, I enjoy my work a lot and I try to have some time of the day for other activities. But I feel as I am going much and much further into the field, I'm getting more time. And I feel that's a huge plus point when you are like out of assisting and then you are like, after you are an associate, you get much more time to yourself than while you are assisting.
हाँ आई थिंक वही जरूरी है कि हम लोग खुद के लिए भी बाउंड्रीज क्रिएट करें
हाँ
और
हाँ
दूसरों के लिए भी बाउंड्रीज क्रिएट करें ताकि वही है कि वो अगर वो देखेंगे तुम एंजॉय कर रहे हो काम तो बोलो अरे इसको तो अच्छा लग रहा है
और
और
ये
टास्क
भी
दे
कर
दो
लो वो कर लो।
हाँ सही बात है शौनक हाउ अबाउट यू
Well, after transitioning to an associate, I did find quite some time off work. But I think again, because our payments are like so less, then we have to pick up multiple projects. So I just see even though I get some time of one project, then I have to use that time to work on another project. So now it's kind of like scattered all over. And even if you are not working, then there's obviously some or the other issue happening at the back end where you always like they expect you to always be there on call, always be there 24/7 on WhatsApp messages and everything, which I think like you always saying that we need to have certain boundaries kept. So that's been an issue to tackle.
या आई
It
थिंक
was like
बिकॉज
raw
इवन
agent,
व्हेन
sorry.
हाँ क्या
तो रॉ एजेंट जैसा काम करते वैसा हम लोग का काम है सारे एडिटर्स का जो
हाँ
भी
No,
नो पर्सनल
seriously, because
नथिंग
also when I speak to a lot of assistants and associates, I try to get them to understand the importance of taking like even one day off. And we also have had these conversations, but I think
या
unless we make it a point to have that time off, or we make it a point to not respond to calls after say 10 p.m. I think that is also part of setting these boundaries. And for me, like I message my team many times post 10 o'clock, but I make it a point to also say, please reply at your convenience because it may be convenient for me, it may not be convenient for someone else. So I think setting these boundaries is also critical. When you talk amongst your peer group, like अपने colleagues के साथ, बाकी assistants, associates, या editors हैं, do you get a feeling that there is an attempt to create this work-life balance, or is it still in its very early stages? You know, trying to develop this harmonious balance between your work and your personal life.
I don't think so. I still think that there's a lot of work that needs to be done at that end because like for many of us who have started as assistants, I think we've kind of tuned in a way where even if we want to take some time off from work, we feel like no, it's wrong. It's kind of wrong.
Yeah.
There's some responsibility there at the edit room that we need to immediately like address. So I feel even when I talk to my friends and everyone, none of them have a good work-life balance. For the times we are not able to talk because everyone is at work. So I still think it's at a very early stage, and there's not much work-life balance among assistants and associates, and definitely
Right.
editors.
Yeah. Yeah. Sinu, Vidur, what are your thoughts on this? Do you feel that sense amongst your friends circle as well?
या टोटली थोड़ा बेसिकली गिल्ट फील होता है कि अगर हम एडिट में नहीं पूछे, अगर हमने काम करके भी गए, घर पे जाने के बाद भी थोड़ा गिल्ट फील होता है कि जैसा शौनक ने बोला कि नहीं कुछ तो रह गया या ये भी कर सकते थे, या तो सेटिस्फेक्शन नहीं मिलता कि चलो हम हमारे साइड से बेस्ट ही देना चाहते कि कर लेते करके। एडिटर ने बोला कि नहीं अभी हो गया तुम्हारा काम, हो गया 8 घंटे का या 10 घंटे का, जैसे भी अभी तुम जाओ घर पे। और उसके बाद पता है कि पोस्ट प्रोडक्शन में से आता है कि नहीं ये भी चाहिए था, वो भी चाहिए था। अभी एडिटर काफी सपोर्ट करे आजकल के टाइम पे असिस्टेंट को, काफी पहले इतना नहीं था जाने में, जहां तक मैंने देखा है। तो इससे कैसा होता है कि हमें तो भी लगता है कि नहीं यार, जबकि अभी मेरा पर्सनल वर्क लाइफ हो गया, अभी मेरे को पर्सनल लाइफ में देखना चाहिए कि अभी हो गया मेरा काम, जो भी है कल मैं बात करता हूँ, या अभी मैसेज में बात किया, अभी आई एम नॉट अवेलेबल। बट वो आता ही नहीं है, लाइक फिर थोड़ा अंदर से थोड़ा गिल्ट फील होता है कि अरे नहीं यार, तो वो चक्कर में पर्सनल लाइफ भी नहीं हो पाता ना वर्क लाइफ भी प्रॉपरली हो पाता, तो ये थोड़ा सा है।
Vidur, how about you?
Yeah, like I think most of my friends are always angry with me because I don't get to spend time with them. That's one of the main things. And I feel like in our field, a lot of people aren't able to strike that balance, as you said, because of the deadlines as well as the amount of work which is happening within a short period of time. It's very difficult to just have that relaxing 15 days or 10 days to yourself sometimes if you are like not in between projects. So that's what I feel like. There is still a long way to go to get that balance, and that would come when we have fixed amount of hours and work, and there is some sort of standardization, I feel.
Very true. That's very true. I think, as you said, a long way to go, but we hope we'll get there soon.
Yes.
And thank you so much, all three of you, for this very, very insightful conversation in understanding how our edit teams function. And I wish you all the very best of luck. Thank you so much for being on this podcast.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
If you enjoyed this video, then please like it, share it, comment on it, and subscribe to this channel so you're tuned in for our upcoming episodes.